Reddit man, what's the most disgusting thing your girlfriend did to you? I still can't believe this actually happened to me. I had been dating my girlfriend, let's call her C, for about 8 months. Things were going really well. We had the usual ups and downs, but nothing major. I thought she was kind, funny, and just a little bit eccentric, which I liked. Around month 7, she started acting strange. More clingy, more emotional. I chalked it up to stress at work. Then one day, she sat me down, eyes red from crying, and told me she had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. I was absolutely devastated for her. She pulled out printed test results and even showed me a note from her doctor. The whole thing looked legit. Of course, I promised to support her through everything. I canceled a planned work trip to stay home with her. I took time off to drive her to appointments. I spent hours sitting on the couch with her while she recovered from treatments. But here's where it got weird. She never lost her appetite. She didn't lose her hair. She was energetic most days, going out shopping or taking selfies while claiming to be in chemo recovery. When I asked questions, she would get defensive and cry. I started getting suspicious and confided in a friend whose sister had actually gone through chemo. He told me flat out, dude, none of this makes sense. So I dug a little. I called the hospital she said she was going to, they had never heard of her. The doctor's note? A fake. The phone number on it rang to a prepaid burner phone. At this point, my stomach dropped. I confronted her. At first, she denied everything. Then she broke down and admitted it. I had to know if you would really stay with me if things got hard. I had to be sure you weren't like my exes. She had faked the entire illness, every appointment, every piece of paper, every single tear, just to test my loyalty. And the worst part? She didn't even seem sorry. She acted like I should understand why she did it. I walked out that night and blocked her on everything. The sheer manipulation, the disgusting abuse of trust, the emotional toll, I still can't fully process it. I feel used and honestly a little traumatized. The fact that someone could fake something so serious, it's beyond words. So yeah, Reddit, that's the most disgusting thing a girlfriend has ever done to me. I didn't think I'd ever be one of those guys with a horror story to tell. My girlfriend seemed pretty normal at first. We met at a mutual friend's party, hit it off fast, and after a couple months of dating, we moved in together. She was super fun, spontaneous, had a goofy sense of humor, but she was also kind of messy. First, it was little things, leaving piles of clothes everywhere, dishes in the sink for days. I wasn't thrilled, but figured I could live with it. You pick your battles, right? Then came the cleaning phase. One weekend, seemingly out of nowhere, she became obsessed with deep cleaning the apartment. I wasn't about to complain. I figured this was her way of trying to make the place more livable. She scrubbed the floors, wiped the baseboards, even cleaned behind the fridge. I honestly thought, wow, good for her. I helped a bit, but she was in full-on tornado mode, almost like she had something to prove. The next morning, I went to brush my teeth and noticed my toothbrush was wet. Weird, because I always leave it in the holder, bristles up, where it dries completely. I shrugged it off. Maybe I'd bumped it the night before. Then it happened again the next day. Wet toothbrush, minty smell, but not from toothpaste, kind of chemical Y. Now I was getting suspicious. Later that week, I came home early from work and heard her in the bathroom. The door was open just a crack. I peeked in, and there she was, vigorously scrubbing the bathroom sink with my toothbrush. I just stood there in stunned silence. She didn't notice me at first. When she finally looked up, she froze, toothbrush mid-swipe, and gave me this sheepish smile. Hi, she said. I asked her what the hell she was doing. Oh, I use yours for cleaning, she said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I don't like using mine because I'm gonna put it back in my mouth. My jaw hit the floor. She explained, completely casually, that every time she deep cleaned the bathroom, she grabbed my toothbrush because it was already out and easier to scrub with. Apparently, this had been going on for weeks. I told her that was disgusting and unsanitary. Her response? You're overreacting. I rinse it really well after. It's totally fine. Totally fine. For me to put in my mouth after it had been used to scrub bathroom gunk and God knows what else. I threw the toothbrush in the trash on the spot, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the nearest store to buy a new one. When I got back, she acted like I had just insulted her entire family. "You're making such a big deal out of nothing," she huffed. "It's just a toothbrush." That was the final straw for me. If someone can't grasp why that's not okay, it makes you question what other gross lines they might be crossing. We didn't break up right away, but things started going downhill fast after that. Trust me, it's hard to feel intimate with someone after picturing your toothbrush scraping the underside of a bathroom faucet. I moved out about a month later, and yes, ever since then, I store my toothbrush in a covered case. You just can't be too careful. This was the fastest I've ever gone from infatuated to absolutely terrified. We met through a dating app, clicked instantly, and after a great first date, we started spending almost every day together. You know that intense honeymoon phase, when you can't get enough of each other? Yeah, that was us. But looking back, there were red flags I ignored. She was a little too intense, texted constantly, called me her soulmate by the end of week 1, told me she'd never felt like this about anyone by week 2. I thought she was just passionate. Then came week 3. One night, she said she had a surprise for me. I figured it'd be something cute, dinner, a gift, maybe tickets to a show. Nope. She brought me back to her apartment, told me to close my eyes, and then said, "Okay, look." She pulled down the sleeve of her shirt, and there it was, a tattoo of my face. Not a small one either, a full black and white portrait on her shoulder. I literally thought I was going to pass out. At first, I couldn't even form words. I just stared. She looked so proud, beaming at me like she'd just given me the best compliment in the world. I finally managed to ask why she would do that. Her exact words, "Because you're the one. I want to carry your face with me always. This proves I'm serious." 3 weeks. We'd only been dating for 3 weeks. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or run. My stomach was doing flips. I tried to stay calm and said something like, "Wow, that's, a really big step." She didn't get it. She kept talking about future plans, moving in together, getting matching tattoos next. I ended things that night. She didn't take it well. Dozens of texts, late-night calls, even a letter in my mailbox a few days later. Luckily, she eventually stopped. I still think about that tattoo sometimes. Some poor future boyfriend is going to see it and wonder what the hell happened. I almost feel bad for him. Almost. I never thought I'd post something like this, but here we are. I used to be very cautious about sending intimate photos. I've always heard horror stories, so I avoided it. But when I started dating this girl, I'll call her Kay, she was different. Or so I thought. We'd been seeing each other for about 6 months. Things felt serious, and she was really into the whole spice up the relationship thing. She sent me pictures, asked for some in return, and after a lot of hesitation, I gave in. I trusted her. For context, I was in pretty good shape at the time. She hyped me up constantly, told me she loved my body and wanted to show me off, which should have been a red flag, but hindsight is 20/20ths. Anyway, I sent a few tasteful photos. Nothing crazy, but still private. Fast forward a few weeks. We were hanging out at her place with 2 of her friends. We were drinking, everyone was laughing, and Kay went to grab her phone to show one of her friends a funny video. At some point, her friend snatched the phone and said, "Oh my God, is this him?" I turned around just in time to see one of my nudes on full display being passed between the 2 of them. They were laughing. My heart dropped. I immediately confronted Kay. She tried to play it off, "Babe, it's just a joke. They always ask what you look like, and I thought it was funny." Her friends were giggling like it was no big deal. I was mortified. I told her that was a complete violation of trust. Her response? "You should be proud. You look great." That somehow made it worse. I grabbed my stuff and left. She blew up my phone the entire next day, some messages apologizing, others saying I needed to lighten up. She said I was being a baby and that everyone shares stuff like that with close friends. No, they don't. Or at least, they shouldn't. It took me weeks to fully process what happened. The worst part? I'll never know how many people she sent those photos to. She admitted that it wasn't just that night, she had already shown them to a couple friends. I broke it off permanently after that. Lesson learned, I will never send photos like that again. I don't care how much I trust someone, the risk just isn't worth it. Some people have zero respect for boundaries. So yeah, Reddit, that's the most disgusting thing an ex ever did to me. And I still cringe every time I think about it. At first, dating her felt like a dream. She was beautiful, had an amazing sense of humor, and was great with animals. We both loved dogs, and she had this huge golden retriever named Max, super sweet dog. A little too friendly but harmless. We dated for about 4 months before I started staying over at her place more regularly. I'm a clean freak by nature, not obsessive, but I do like things to be reasonably hygienic. Her place was a little chaotic, but I didn't mind. She had this boho vibe going on, plants everywhere, fairy lights, cozy blankets, it felt homey. But there was one thing that seemed off. Every time we finished a meal, I noticed she'd never start loading the dishwasher right away. I figured she just waited until she had a full load. No biggie. Then one night, after we'd had pasta, I was sitting on the couch when I heard this weird slurping sound from the kitchen. I peeked in, and there was Max, standing with his paws on the counter, licking the plates clean. Like thoroughly? I blinked. She walked into the kitchen right then, smiled, and said, "Oh, he loves helping with the dishes. Saves water." I honestly thought she was joking. I laughed nervously and said, "Haha, but you're going to wash those after, right?" She shrugged. "I mean, they're basically clean now. I just give them a quick rinse and put them away." I froze. At first I thought maybe I misunderstood. Surely she wasn't actually skipping soap and a proper wash. But over the next few days I paid closer attention, and sure enough I watched her wash a whole stack of plates by running them under cold water for about 2 seconds after Max had his turn, then stacking them right back in the cupboard. I was horrified. When I confronted her about it, she got defensive. "He's a clean dog. Dogs' mouths are actually cleaner than humans' mouths, you know. That old myth." I tried to explain that it didn't matter, a dog's mouth shouldn't be sanitizing dinnerware. Her response? "You're being so uptight. My family has always done this. We've never gotten sick." At that point, I started bringing my own dishes when I ate at her place, or I just politely declined meals altogether. It became a huge point of tension. She thought I was insulting her and Max. I thought I was trying to avoid eating dog slobber. The breaking point came when I caught her letting Max lick the inside of a cooking pot, and then, without rinsing it, she started making soup in it. I couldn't take it anymore. I ended things a week later. It was honestly one of the grossest habits I've ever encountered. And to this day, if I eat at someone's house who owns a dog, I watch their kitchen like a hawk. Lesson learned. I've debated sharing this because it still pisses me off to this day. I was dating this woman for about 1.5 years. We weren't ready for marriage or kids yet. That was something we had talked about very openly from the start. We both agreed, career first, family later. No surprises, or so I thought. One night after we'd been intimate, I noticed something strange. When I went to take care of the condom, it looked off, like it had been tampered with. At first I thought maybe it had just torn, but it looked too deliberate. There were these tiny pinprick holes along the base. My stomach dropped. I didn't say anything right away. Instead, the next day I checked the entire box and found that almost every condom had similar tiny holes. At that point, I knew something was very wrong. I confronted her calmly. At first she denied it, swore she had no idea what I was talking about. But the more I pressed, the more defensive she got. Eventually, through tears and excuses, she admitted it. "I just didn't want to risk waiting anymore," she said. "I love you and I wanted us to start a family. If you got me pregnant, I knew you'd do the right thing and marry me." I was speechless. I couldn't even process the level of betrayal. We had discussed this openly, honestly, and she decided to secretly manipulate my entire future. Needless to say, I ended things on the spot, packed my stuff and left that night, changed my number, blocked her on everything. It's the most disgusting, manipulative thing anyone has ever done to me. To any guy reading this, check your protection. You think it'll never happen to you until it does. You wouldn't think this would be something you'd need to tell a grown adult. But here we are. I started dating this girl a few years back. At first, everything was great. She was smart, hilarious, super fun to be around. We'd go out, try new restaurants, hang out with friends. No red flags. After about 3 months, I started staying over at her place more often. She lived in this cute little apartment with a nice bathroom. Everything seemed normal. Until one day, I noticed something off. I went to use her bathroom one morning and the toilet was full. No big deal, I figured maybe she forgot to flush. Gross, but everyone slips up once in a while. But then it happened again. And again. Every time I go in there, I'd find, let's just say, remnants. Sometimes pee, sometimes worse. Once I even found toilet paper just floating there, like a sad little flag of surrender. At first, I thought maybe the toilet was broken. So I casually asked, "Hey, is your toilet acting up?" I noticed it wasn't flushing sometimes. She looked confused and said, "Oh no, it works fine." So I pushed a little further. "Then, why don't you flush it?" She blinked at me like I was the crazy one. Then she explained, "Well, flushing wastes water. I'm trying to be more eco-conscious. If it's just pee, I don't flush. If it's more, sometimes I'll wait until later." Wait, what? She told me this whole philosophy she had about if it's yellow, let it mellow. Except she had taken that to the extreme. Sometimes she would leave things sitting there all day even when guests were coming over. I tried to reason with her. Look, I'm all for saving water, but leaving that sitting there isn't sanitary. What about the smell? She shrugged. You get used to it. No, you don't. After a while, I started flushing the toilet myself every time I walked into the bathroom, whether I needed to use it or not. It became a reflex. I'd walk in, flush, then do my business. One night, we had a small party at her place. I overheard one of her friends whispering to another, "Dude, why doesn't she flush her toilet?" That was the moment I knew it wasn't just bothering me. I finally sat her down and told her flat out that it was disgusting and I couldn't live with it. Her response? "If something this small bothers you so much, maybe you're too high maintenance." That sealed the deal. We broke up not long after. There were other issues, this was just the most obvious one. But man, even now, I can't walk into a bathroom without checking the toilet first. Moral of the story, some things are non-negotiable. Flushing is one of them. This still makes me sick to my stomach when I think about it. A few years ago, I was dating a girl I'll call Elle. She was from a different country and was always talking about introducing me to her culture's traditional dishes. I love trying new food, so I was excited. For some context, when I was a kid, we had a pet rabbit named Thumper. I adored that rabbit. He lived a long, happy life, and when he passed, we had him cremated. His little urn sat on the bookshelf at my parents' house. Anyway, about 6 months into dating, I decided to introduce Elle to my family. The visit went great, my parents loved her. During the visit, she noticed the urn and I told her the story of Thumper. She seemed touched and asked lots of questions. Fast forward a few weeks. Elle invited me over for a special dinner she'd been planning. She told me it was a dish from her childhood and it was very meaningful. I was flattered. She cooked everything herself, had candles lit, the whole 9 yards. When she served the dish, I asked what it was. She just smiled and said, "Try it first, I want to see what you think." The dish tasted good, but the texture was unusual. About halfway through the meal, she finally said, "It's rabbit. I wanted to make something from my country for you." My stomach dropped. I wasn't angry that it was rabbit, I know it's normal to eat in many cultures. What disgusted me was what came next. She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. It was a picture of a frozen rabbit. But not just any rabbit, it was Thumper. Apparently when we'd visited my parents, she had asked my mom if she could take the rabbit's remains, told her she wanted to honor him in a special dish for me. My mom, thinking this was some sweet symbolic thing, agreed. She had no idea Elle meant literally cook him. I was horrified. I stood up, left immediately, and didn't speak to her again. Who does that? Who hears a story about someone's beloved childhood pet and thinks, "Yeah, I should serve that for dinner." To this day, I can't even think about eating rabbit. I can't believe I ever trusted her. This one still makes me laugh, now. At the time, I was horrified. I was dating this girl for about 5 months. We had a great thing going, super affectionate, great chemistry, very sweet. The only thing that drove me crazy was her cat. Don't get me wrong, I love animals. But this cat, a big fluffy Persian named Mr. Pickles, was a menace. Constantly shedding everywhere, knocking things off shelves, waking us up at 4 a.m., you name it. Anyway, one Saturday morning, I was getting ready to take a shower when she mentioned that Mr. Pickles had gotten into something sticky. "I need to wash him," she said casually. I thought nothing of it. Took my shower, got out, went to make coffee. About 15 minutes later, I walked back into the bathroom to grab my razor, and that's when I saw it. There was fur everywhere. The bathtub was full of cat hair. And on the edge of the tub, sitting next to a bottle of cat shampoo, was my loofah. Soaking wet, covered in cat hair. At first, I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. Maybe she had used an old loofah, I thought. Maybe this wasn't my loofah. But nope. I checked the shower rack. My loofah was gone, and this was it. I confronted her right away. Hey, did you use my loofah on Mr. Pickles? She looked totally unbothered. Yeah, he was all matted and I couldn't find a brush. Your loofah worked perfectly. I just stared at her. You know that's what I use to wash myself, right? She shrugged. Well, I rinsed it out after. It's fine. Fine. I had been scrubbing my face and body with that thing daily. I immediately threw it in the trash. She rolled her eyes and accused me of being dramatic. I couldn't believe it. First the dog-licked dishes, she had a habit of that too, now this? I started wondering what other little surprises were waiting around her apartment. The loofah incident was a turning point. I realized we had very different standards of hygiene. We lasted another few weeks, but after a few more gross moments, I was done. These days, I always bring my own towel and toiletries when staying at someone's place. You just never know. It's not the grossest thing on this thread, but it drove me absolutely insane. I dated this girl for almost a year. Everything was great at first, we got along really well, loved the same shows, had a blast together. But after we started spending more nights at my place, this one habit of hers started making me lose my mind. She never ever took her makeup off before bed. Full face of foundation, mascara, eyeliner every single night. No makeup remover, no wipes, nothing. I brought it up a few times and she'd just say, I'm too tired or it's not a big deal. But here's where it got worse. Rather than just sleeping on the pillow and getting some makeup stains here and there, which was already annoying, she had this habit. Right before falling asleep, she would literally wipe her face all over my pillow. I'm not joking. She'd roll over, grab my pillow, even if she had her own, and rub her face on it. Sometimes she'd say it was softer or smelled like me, but it became clear she was basically using it like a giant makeup removal cloth. Within a couple weeks, my pillowcase looked like a piece of abstract art. Beige smears, mascara streaks, glitter. It didn't matter how often I washed it, every single night she'd do it again. I finally said something blunt. Hey, can you please stop using my pillow to wipe your makeup off? It's disgusting. She laughed and said, you're being ridiculous. It's just makeup. At that point, I bought myself my own pillow and started hiding it when I wasn't in the room. She caught on, got annoyed, and accused me of being uptight about dumb stuff. The irony? She spent hundreds of dollars a month on skincare products and then slept with a full face of makeup on my pillow. I lasted maybe another month after that. It wasn't the only reason we broke up, but man, it sure didn't help. To this day, nothing makes me cringe faster than the sight of a beige streak pillowcase. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what's the most disgusting thing your girlfriend ever did.